Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education University, and I'm your host, Tim Bogatz. All right, Amanda Hein will be back with me for the episode today. We're going to be talking about one of her favorite topics, interviewing and hiring. We have a conversation in this episode about job hunting and interviewing, looking at it through the lens of the important things to keep in mind from both a teacher perspective and an administrator perspective. So we wanted to ask the question, what are some of your green flags when it comes to job hunting, interviewing, or knowing that you're coming into a program that is respected and supported? So you will hear today our top 5 green flags when it comes to job hunting. Now, we opened up this question to the art teacher community as well, and you all came through on socials with some great ideas. So you will hear us incorporate a lot of those answers in each one of our green flags. And also, as part of the conversation today, you will hear me add in some stats here and there from the State of Art Education survey that we published in early 2024. Now, this is a survey that asks thousands of art teachers across the country about their programs, their art shows, their budget, their curriculum, their professional development, and so much more. It's a survey that we've been doing every year since 2018, and it gives us just great insight into the state of art education, hence the name, in any given year. So, administrators, if you want to know how your school or your district compares to other schools, other districts throughout the country, or teachers, if you want to know how your own situation compares to what other teachers are doing all throughout the country, make sure you check it out. We will link it in the show notes. Again, it's called the State of Art Education Survey 2024. But for now, let me bring on Amanda Hein, and she will be joining me for our top 5 green flags conversation. Amanda Hein is joining me now. Amanda, how are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. We have a lot of great stuff to talk about when it comes to job hunting and the green flags when job hunting or when going through the interview process. But I think to kind of set the table for this discussion, I think it's important to bring up a couple of points when it comes to job interviews. And this is something that you love to talk about. I know we've talked about it on previous podcasts, but you know, administrators obviously want to put their best foot forward and find a teacher that fits their school. And a lot of teachers think that they need to jump at every job that's available, but we need to kind of maybe take a step back and realize that it's important for teachers to make sure that the job is a fit for them as well.
Yes. I think, rightfully so, many people are so nervous about the interview process. That's totally expected. It's totally normal. But like you said, I always like to remind people that it's a two-way street. Like interviewing is a two-way street. Yes. Just like you said, the admin is trying to find the best fit for their school, but the teacher also needs to figure out if that school is the right fit for them. These days with teacher shortages and new arts funding initiatives passing in some states like Proposition 28 in California and other places, candidates do have more opportunities to really ask for what they need and seek out a really supportive environment. And so on both sides of the table, people need to be ready and willing to engage in some really important conversations to figure out if it's going to work for both parties.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just going back to that idea of teachers needing to, take whatever job's available, I don't think that's the case anymore. And like you and I, we talk in this job to administrators all over the country. And I've talked to more than a few who say that these job interviews have just turned into recruiting pitches where rather than just, figuring out the best of the 8 candidates, they're desperately wanting their one candidate to take the job. And so, the school tour is, look how great this is. Look how awesome the staff is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna give the caveat that that is not the case everywhere. There's probably a few people who are having a much different experience with their job hunt right now, but
Mhm.
it goes back to the idea that both sides are looking for something, and when the admins and the teachers can both connect and find a good fit, that's kind of what we're going for. And so part of this discussion today is to figure out how to get everybody on the same page. So we're going to go through our top 5 green flags when it comes to interviewing or job hunting. So we're going to throw in a few comments from the AOEU community, like I said, and we're going to share some of our own thoughts as well. So top 5 green flags. Number 1 is having a vision for the arts program. Amanda, would you like to read the first Facebook comment here?
Yeah, sure. This comes from Casey Clark, who said, ask the principal to share their vision for the role of the arts in their school. Are they more interested in the process or the product? Do they want impressive displays in the hall, or do they want their classroom teachers to have daily planning time? Or do they value art as a way to increase student engagement and confidence? So lots of great things there to discuss.
All excellent points. And I just wanted to add one. This is from Art You Happy from Instagram. Short and sweet, but important. They said there needs to be an actual job description so you understand what the job entails. So, Amanda, reactions to either of those or both of those?
Yeah, well, I think they're both great answers. I do want to say they suggest a really knowledgeable, involved administrator or administrative team, which is definitely something to look for. I'm not sure that for either job, I'm trying to figure out, did I have an actual job description? I'm sure I had something, with my hours and contract days and things. Right. But you absolutely want to make sure that you have in writing like the following, even if it's not in a specific job description. So I would say contracted hours, obviously days you have to work, including in service and before and after the school year, which should probably be written into your contract. But then other important things to think about, or if you're an administrator listening, things to think about communicating with your candidates would be the amount of prep time per day and how it's allotted. So it's not enough for an art teacher to know that they get 40 minutes a day, because if that time is split into 4 10-minute increments, that is an issue. Right. Not the same as if they have a dedicated planning period, right? Length of the lunch break, how many classes the teacher will be expected to teach each week, how many students they will have in each class, what duties they'll be assigned to outside of their normal class load, what kind of support they will have in the classroom. So if you are teaching in an integrated situation, what kind of support do you have for students who need that? I have known about schools where students with special needs get assistance in math class and not in art class. And that's a really big issue, especially if you think about what kind of tools and materials and things go on in an art class. So that would be something to ask about. And then the last one is whether or not the teacher would be receiving extra stipends or extra pay for things outside of school hours. I'm thinking of things like coaching or art club or other activities that you might want that person to become involved with.
Yeah, that's a great list. And I appreciate all the specifics. As you were talking there, I was thinking all big picture. And so I'm glad that you really nailed down exactly what to talk about. But my thoughts, like I said, generally tend toward sort of the overarching view of what do administrators want their art program to be? What do they want kids to learn? What value do they place on the arts? Like Casey said in her comment, is the art program something that's valued, something that everybody loves and participates in, or is it something that just kind of exists to give classroom teachers the planning time that they need?
Yeah.
Because that's a battle that a lot of elementary art teachers are fighting. And, if you're at the secondary level, think about what the expectations are for the program. Are you participating in a ton of art shows, putting on art shows? Do you do art competitions? Is there an art club, an art honor society, things like that? Just figure out exactly what expectations there are for the program. And kind of along those same lines, but another aspect of it is what role the art program plays in the community. Like that's worth having a discussion about.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the art shows, other interactions, other opportunities for kids to hang work in local businesses or participate in different events. Like what is the art program doing, or what, is the art teacher expected to do when it comes to the community? And in return, how does the community support the program? Like, what is the PTO doing? Are there other volunteers? They give donations. What is attendance like at events? Is the art show a big deal? Like all of those things kind of play into, what role the art program takes in both the school and the community. And again, I think trying to align everybody's expectations is an important part of what you're doing during the interview process.
Yeah, for sure. I would add one additional caveat, which is maybe you are a teacher and you are interviewing with a panel and they're not sure exactly what they want for the art program. Maybe
True.
they've never had a strong program or the program is brand new. I know in my second teaching position, there had been an art teacher there who was wonderful, but he had been there for 30 years and things were kind of, petering out in some ways. And so I was able to come in and share what my vision was, and they were really excited about that. So if that's a situation you're in, I would also look to see if the committee is open and excited about your ideas and your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a very similar experience where I was able to share my vision for the high school program when I moved there, and the interview committee was very receptive to that. So I think that's a good piece of advice for teachers. Know going in, what you think you could do with the program, what you want the program to be, and be able to speak to that in the interview. So that's great advice. Thank you. Green flag number 2. This is an engaged administration. So I will read the first one, and then Amanda, you can get the second one. Our first comment is from Amy Stice-Hankey from Facebook, and she said, an administration that attends art shows, they honor the success of the students, and they stop by the art room regularly because they're truly interested in what the students are creating.
Yes. And then Don Kruger from Facebook also said they have encouraging words and questions for our students when they visit our classrooms. Also, they visit our classrooms, which is great. And I think both of these comments are great, because I think as a teacher, you really should look for an administrator or an administrative team that feels like a collaborator, someone who really will support you in enacting your ideas and who you can go to for advice, someone who's going to help you champion the art program and acknowledge your hard work and dedication. So yes, the principal is an authority figure, right? That is their job, to give feedback and to make teachers better, but they should really be invested in helping you improve versus being overly critical, in my mind.
Yeah, I would agree with all three of those. And actually, my thoughts kind of echo yours a little bit. I would say that, engagement is always appreciated. Visiting the classroom is great. Personally, I'm very nervous about people visiting my classroom. Like, I hate having extra people in there. And I know some other people feel that, but I think any administrator stopping by, kind of, especially if they're interested, if they're engaged when they stop by, that gives a boost to the kids. Just a quick visit. And a little bit of encouragement can do wonders to help the kids kind of boost them up, help their confidence, and make them a little bit more excited about what they're doing. And so, admins, we know you were incredibly busy, but even a short visit can do wonders for the kids. But I think it kind of goes back to the idea of just a real general support for what you were doing in the art room. And, admin should be able to encourage you to be your best self when you're teaching. They should, support the art program in front of the staff, in front of the community. And I think that's an important question for teachers to ask in the interview. Ask their admins, what do they do to support? What do they do to promote their teachers and their programs? And just make sure that you have a really engaged and supportive administration when you're going through all of this.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, number 3 on our green flags is a quality art room. So we have 3 comments I'm going to read really quick. From Lizardly Wine on Instagram, she says sinks and storage space with at least 5 exclamation points. So I like that. Erin Marie Reynard from Facebook says if they're open and excited to showing you the space.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Nelson on Facebook says look at the space compared to other classrooms. The art room is massively outdated compared to the other classrooms. Chances are it's not a priority.
Yes, I really like what Tim had to say about comparing the art room with other art rooms because while everybody would love a big, beautiful room stacked with everything, we know the state of art education these days, or education in general, I should say, and we know that might not be a realistic find. But I think a few things to look for is like, is the room comfortable, right? Like, does it get up to 125 degrees at the beginning of the year? Like, I don't know if you want to be in there, right? So is it comfortable? Is it functional? For example, does it have sinks? Like generally you need water to teach art, a drying rack, right? Like tables and chairs enough for the students. And it should be safe. So like no one wants to teach art in a room that's been clearly neglected. I feel like I've heard about a lot of mice in art rooms. Like that is a health hazard.
I've had mice before. Yeah.
No one wants to teach in a moldy environment, right? Like sometimes these classrooms are kind of wild. So a peek at the art room and, just kind of poking your nose in the space is going to give you, for lack of a better term, a vibe check. And I think you should definitely listen to your gut when you are in that space. And I also think, like they said, if they're not excited to show you the space, or if they will not show you the space, then that is a red flag, not a green flag.
I was going to say that is a red flag. So yeah, I think that's important. I would look at it this way. I would first think about sort of the lower end of the art room. Like what's your minimum viable art room? Like what can you get by with? And then at the other end of the spectrum, think about what does your dream art room look like, and just realize that like you're probably going to land somewhere in the middle, and make sure that you're okay with that. But if it's below like the minimum of what you would want to deal with, then that's not a fit, and that's something that you probably want to stay away from. But I think seeing the room is an important part of that, just because when we teach art, our space is very, very important to what we do and how we do it. And we need something that fits. And I would say when you are looking through that too, just think about like the aesthetics of what it looks like versus the fundamentals of like how it functions. Cause there are things that maybe don't look great right now, but you could super quickly change, just adding a little more color, adding some more decorations, or hanging up some different artwork, you can make the space a lot brighter and a lot different. But if, you're in a spot with no windows and, no sinks, like you said, that's a problem. Like you probably can't change where the built-in cabinets are, or where the doorways are, or where your sinks might be located, and those are things that you have to work around, and those are things that you probably want to think about a little bit more when you see that art room. So just kind of be able to envision what you want that to be, figure out what the room looks like, and just make sure it's going to work for you, and I think we're going to be good there.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 4 on our list for green flags is a decent budget. Now, notice we didn't say a great budget. We didn't say a huge budget, because we know that's probably not realistic. But we would like at least a decent budget to work with. So, Amanda, can you read those comments?
Yeah. Shay Lichtenberg from Facebook said low supply budget per student ratio is a red flag. So flipping that, a high supply budget per student ratio is a green flag. And then C. Shelly Run 3 from Instagram said, my own room and a generous budget supply. If not, then nope.
Okay.
So these would be things they were looking for.
I appreciate all the Instagram comments because they're just straight to the point. Like,
right.
I love it.
I totally agree with this green flag. Administrators, if you're listening out there, I don't think you're generally making math teachers pay for math textbooks, right? And so you absolutely should not be asking your art teachers to pay for the art supplies, which are the materials that they need to enact their classes. And she is right. Like, if you have to really look at your amount per student, because $400 might seem like a lot of money if this is maybe one of your first jobs teaching art, but that is not going to get you far if you are teaching 400 students.
Right.
And so it's really important to do the math there, or ask the school to do the math for you, and figure out exactly what you have allotted. I think it also depends. Something that plays into this equation is how much is already there. Are you starting from scratch? Is there kind of a stockpile? I have seen well-stocked art rooms where they do lower the budget a little bit then, because you kind of have a reserve to pull from. But there are other places where you go in and there is no paper for the first day of school unless you order it. And so understanding that bigger picture is very important. If you were to be in an interview and the school responds that they don't have a dedicated art budget, then I would ask and follow up by understanding how the art program is funded. Because again, we do not want you opening your wallet. So is the PTO involved? Are there generous donations from an outside source? Some schools will put supplies for the art room on the back to school list supplies. So like every child has to bring a pack of markers that go directly to the art room. So essentially, again, there needs to be a solid plan that doesn't involve you using your personal savings to buy art supplies.
If I can jump in real quick, there are a lot of places that expect art programs to fund themselves via fundraiser or art show where they're selling works. And so that's another one to ask about, because again, that goes back to expectations for the program. And if you're expected to fund your program through an end-of-year art show, like, you need to know that going in.
Right. 100%. And you need to think about, like, is that work that you're willing to put in? Because, I've been in that situation, fundraising, and that takes a lot of time. That is not necessarily then going into planning my curriculum. And the last thing I guess I would say about this is, remember that most of the supplies you're going to be using are consumable, right? They need to be repurchased year after year. And the less time a teacher has to worry about how to obtain the supplies that they need, the stronger the art program is going to be, because they're going to be able to dedicate that time to teaching practices and curriculum and things that really will make a big difference.
Yeah. And I would say, I just wanted to add, like, going back to the State of Art Ed survey that I mentioned in the introduction, 40% of teachers have $3 or less per student, which again, like, that is not a lot, but it is the reality of what's going on. And again, if you have 400 students, that's $1,200 that, I mean, you can get some decent stuff with that, but it still can be a little bit of a stretch. But again, we just need to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And when you ask about that, administrators should have a clear answer. Like Amanda said, they should have a solid plan for how that art room is funded. That if they answer, oh, we'll get you what you need, don't worry about it, that, in my experience, rarely translates into you actually getting what you need. So just make sure that there is a specific plan, a clear plan for how the art program is funded and what you have to work with there.
I would add just one more thing before we move on to our last and final flag, which is, because you said something that sparked this idea, which was like, you have to be on the same page. So if you are an art teacher and you are all about recycled art and you only want to make stuff with cardboard and you want to, if that is a passion area of yours, like maybe you don't need as big of a budget as someone else, right? But again, that alignment is so important, or truly understanding what you're getting yourself into with both funding and supplies is just something you really, really need to nail down in the interview process.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Green flag number 5, supportive colleagues. Okay. I will take the first comment here. Amanda will give you the second two. Colleen McGrath Sherry from Facebook says, gauge how the interview panel responds to your responses or questions. If they are nodding along to your answers and interested in what you have to say, that is probably a green flag.
Okay. Liv N. Deeks from Instagram said, your interview includes people from the art department. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
love. And Kellis Bobellis from Instagram said, I always try to get a hold of someone I know from that district or school for insight.
Oh, I like that. I think it's good if you know somebody there to kind of get a lay of the land of, how people are feeling about teaching at that school or in that
Yeah.
district. So
I
that's
mean, if you
good.
think about it, it's kind of like a reverse reference check, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
the if the admin is going to call your references, like why don't you call their references, right? Who would be the people that already work for them or already attend in that school district? Although I will say, I don't think you need absolutely everyone to be your cheerleader right away. That can be
No.
amazing. But if you have, your principal and a few key staff, like you can do a lot to bring people on board. In
Hmm.
my first school I taught at, teachers were not super into the art program, but literally while I was hanging the first display in the hallway, I had 3 people stop me and be like, oh my gosh, like this is really impressive. They were like, something good is happening here, right? And so when you sort of get your artwork out into the school community for the first time, you can build from a base, I guess I would say. So immediate support, if you can get it, wonderful. But second best would be sort of genuine enthusiasm about what the art program could be and how important it is to foster sort of excellence in the arts.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is tough for me to say as somebody who's introverted, but put yourself out there too. Like visit other teachers' classrooms. Like make yourself part of the school community. Like there are probably some get-togethers. There are probably other things that you can do to get to know your colleagues a little bit more outside of the school day. And I would encourage you to do that because you know the more you like the people you work with, the better the situation is at work. And so if you have the opportunity to do that, I would definitely do that. And just going back to that state of art ed survey again, like 2/3 of teachers, of art teachers are the only art teacher at their school. And so a
Yeah.
lot of times you are needing the support of people outside of the art program. So, look for colleagues in all different areas that you can work with, that you can hang with, that you can get support from, not just who's in the art department. And I think, like you said, if you work on building those relationships, that support will come. But like you said, if you have a few champions in the district or in the school for you already, then that is a major green flag. So
Yeah. I also really like the idea of having an art person in the interview process, or if you're at elementary, maybe another specialist like music, right? Because it shows that the admin values those people's voices, which
yes,
is really good.
yes, for sure. All right, now Amanda, to close it out, advice you want to share for any administrators who are listening to this, who are wanting to attract the best teachers or wanting those teachers to stay at their schools?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway is don't treat the art teacher different than the language arts teacher or the social studies teacher or the math teacher or the science teacher, right? In terms of the support that you are giving or the attention that you are giving. Your art teachers are really invaluable. Art is the place where students are plugging into those really important 21st century skills day in and day out. Like many jobs that these students are going to have not been invented yet, right? Like we don't know what they're going to be doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so this foundation of creativity and critical thinking and collaboration that they learn in the art room is going to serve them and not only in the job market, right? But like just to make them a better and more well-rounded human. It's a really special privilege and challenge to teach such a large percentage of the school population as an art teacher. And our teachers have real distinct needs, and they would really love for you to partner with them to create the best art program possible.
That's very well said. And I want to hone in on that idea of having distinct needs because, in talking to teachers all over, as we always do, and looking at the data we've collected from the State of Art Ed survey, it really comes down to what I'm seeing are 3 things that teachers are really finding challenging. Finding enough time to do everything that they are asked to do. Okay, finding support with behavior management and a lack of support from the art program. And so I think, if you can help alleviate those things for your teachers, then that can be huge. Any kind of support that you can give with any of that is going to be great. Finding a budget for them, finding time for them to do what they need to do, being able to support the program, finding specific professional development for your art teachers, showing them that they're a valued and important member of your staff can go a long ways. Giving them the supports they need to do their job can be huge. And I think it goes back to what you said, Amanda, about not treating art differently. Just make sure that, teachers are pulled in to be part of that staff. They feel part of the staff. They feel part of the school. And if you can give them those things and, again, work together, collaborate to make the program the best it can be, then I think we're all going to be in a great place. So I think we will go ahead and wrap it up there. So Amanda, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like it's a good one, and hopefully it will help both teachers and administrators as they're trying to get aligned here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you to Amanda for joining me for that conversation. And thank you to all of you who left comments for us, wrote in to share your own green flags. And hopefully this gets more people on the same page when it comes to interviewing, and make sure we can create those connections between administrators and teachers. So again, there's a lot for you to check out if you want to explore this more. I talked in the intro about the State of Art Education Survey. I also sprinkled a few stats in where they seem to be relevant. So you probably heard us talking about that a couple times, and we will link to that in the show notes so you can check it out and explore some other years too if you want to see how things were before 2024. We'll also have an article publishing soon in the AOEU magazine about green flags to look for when you're in this process. So there are also a couple other things that I think can be helpful as part of this conversation, whether that be Now Conference, Flex Curriculum, Pro Learning. All of those things go a long way to helping teachers feel supported and feel like they're getting what they need from their job. So administrators, ask your art teachers which of those things might be most helpful for them. Do they want the Now Conference for our favorite day of online learning? Do they want Flex Curriculum with lessons and resources and everything you need to teach? Or do they want Pro Learning with on-demand PD that is not only specific to our teachers, but really, really good professional development? Any of those things can be helpful. And as we always do with our show notes, we will make it easy for you to find links, resources, and other ways to explore everything that we covered in the conversation today. Please share this episode with someone who could use it, whether that's someone who's looking for a job right now, or an administrator who's looking for an art teacher, or maybe just some ways to better support the art teachers that they have now. Art Ed Radio is produced by the Art of Education University with audio engineering from Michael Crocker. We will be back next week and every Tuesday with another episode of Art Ed Radio. Make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app. And as always, thank you for listening.